All right, let's jump right in. You know, in the world of rallying, there are certain last names that carry a legacy so heavy it could literally crush you. And Oliver Solberg, well, he was born holding one of those names. He is, for all intents and purposes, rally royalty. We're talking the son of a world champion, the nephew of a world champion. And for years, as he was coming up through the ranks, he was just constantly living in the towering shadow of those massive achievements. Honestly, the question around the service parks wasn't usually if he had the talent, but rather, when is he going to stop just being Petter's son? When would he finally step out of that shadow and become his own man?
So you really have to ask yourself, how exactly do you outdrive your own last name? How do you forge your own identity when every fan out there already thinks they know who you are and exactly how you should drive? Well, that is the exact quest Oliver found himself on as the 2026 WRC season kicked off. He was just totally done waiting for permission to be great. He decided it was time to start taking victories by force and completely rewrite his own narrative. Let's look at Chapter 1, the Monte Carlo Breakthrough. We start the season at the legendary Rallye Monte Carlo. Oliver rolls up to this absolute crucible at just 25 years old, sitting next to a brand new co-driver and armed with this incredibly aggressive mindset. I mean, he attacked those mountain passes with zero fear. We are talking about a young driver who was actively outbraking seasoned veterans on literal black ice. He was attacking these corners where everyone else lifted the throttle and throwing the car into drifts exactly where the rest of the grid was just tiptoeing around trying to survive. His radio messages seriously told the whole story. It was just push, push, push. And you know what? That sheer, unadulterated aggression paid off in a big way. When he crossed the flying finish of that final stage, Oliver didn't just win a rally, he announced his arrival to the world. Securing your first WRC victory at 25 on the most legendary stage of them all? Yeah, that's no fluke. It was a massive, undeniable warning shot fired directly at the rest of the championship field.
But, as we all know, that incredible high of the Monte Carlo win in January didn't last long. Rallying is a notoriously cruel sport. As the season moved into the spring events in Sardinia and Portugal, Oliver found himself on this brutal roller coaster that tested absolutely every ounce of his resolve.
Which brings us to Part 2, the mid-season reset.
So the spring campaign brought Oliver face-to-face with the unforgiving reality of World Championship rallying. In Sardinia, he got struck down by a mechanical failure, which, hey, is totally out of his control. But then came Portugal. He made a massive, costly mistake and ended up rolling the car completely onto its roof. And look, when you roll a car at this level, the critics instantly sharpen their knives. Their verdict was swift and it was harsh. They called him too aggressive, they said he was still learning, and probably most devastatingly, they claimed he was not ready for a factory seat. The pressure was mounting so intensely, the weight of that famous last name was pushing down harder than it ever had before. Oliver was basically backed into a corner, forced to make a definitive choice about his future in the sport. But here's the thing. He didn't go out and argue with the media. He didn't make excuses. He just went completely quiet and got to work on this grueling three-step rebuild. First, he hit the sim and studied every single onboard video to analyze his mistakes. Second, he entirely rebuilt his pace notes from scratch, literally stripping his system down to the studs. And third, he fundamentally shifted his psychology. He stopped trying to beat everyone else on the grid, and he started competing strictly against himself. Let's move to Section 3, Estonia, the turning point.
This total ground-up overhaul was put to the ultimate test in July. Welcome to Rally Estonia. This is a high-speed, utterly unforgiving gravel rally, with trees just blurring past the windows at terrifying speeds and the suffocating pressure of expectation at an all-time high. Especially being so close to his home turf, he had to test this new strategy right here, right now. And guys, the results were absolutely mesmerizing. Instead of his usual overdriving, Oliver adopted this new, highly clinical driving style. He just focused on flow. He trusted his rebuilt notes, he trusted the car, and most importantly, he trusted his gut. This newfound rhythm let him do the unthinkable. He beat the reigning world champion on 3 consecutive lightning-fast stages. He ultimately brought the car home in a stunning second place, finishing only behind his own teammate.
He said it best himself. It's a mental victory. I proved I can do it without crashing. That weekend in Estonia, Oliver didn't just score championship points. He scored belief. He proved to the critics, sure, but way more importantly to himself, that this new analytical approach actually worked.
Now for Section 4, Survival in Finland. Of course, the universe just wasn't quite done testing him yet.
In August, the grueling physical test of Rally Finland raised the stakes even higher. On Friday, while flying through those famous Finnish forests, Oliver took a jump that launched his car literally 40 meters through the air. The landing was violent. It felt like a straight-up car crash. The impact was so severe, it actually resulted in a back injury and a cracked rib. The medical team checked him out, and the doctors explicitly told him he needed to stop driving immediately.
But remember that new mindset we just talked about? Yeah, there was no way he was stopping. Armed with painkillers and heavily taped ribs, Oliver got right back in the car. And here is the craziest part. He didn't drive recklessly out of anger or pain. He drove flawlessly. Showing just immense grit, he actually clawed back seconds on every single stage, ultimately winning the highly contested Super Sunday bonus points. At the finish line, he was in so much pain he barely had the strength to stand without help, yet there he was, up on the podium in second place. That podium wasn't just for the WRC record books, it was an absolute masterclass in human survival.
And that brings us to our final chapter, a legacy redefined.
Let's look at where all this hard work has left him. He is currently sitting in a highly competitive 4th place in the overall WRC standings, just a razor-thin 4 points behind 3rd. He's been consistently beating world champions all year, and he's stood on the podium in 4 out of the 6 rallies so far. This isn't just some flash in the pan. This is sustained, elite-level performance.
And 0. That's the magic number right there. 0 retirements since that devastating crash in Portugal. Since he rebuilt his entire approach to the sport, he has finished every single rally. That proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the overly aggressive hothead from the spring, that guy is gone. In his place is a clinical, calculating professional who knows exactly how to manage a rally from the first stage to the last.
You know, his father, Petter Solberg, built his legendary status on raw, untamed speed and massive charisma. But Oliver? He's actively building his own distinct legacy now. He's defining himself through incredible resilience and unbreakable consistency. He'll always be a Solberg, for sure, but in 2026, he proved he is no longer just a Solberg.
But look, we all know the 2026 season isn't wrapped up just yet. We still have 3 incredibly challenging rallies left on the calendar. We've got the notoriously muddy forest of Wales, the rock-strewn, car-breaking stages of Greece, and finally the tight, twisting tarmac of Japan. He has 3 massive opportunities left to really cement this newly forged reputation. The oldest truth in this sport is that you do not win simply by going the fastest, you win by finishing. And Oliver has truly mastered the art of finishing. So, if the first half of this incredible season is any indication, what exactly is Oliver Solberg going to conquer in these final 3 stages? I don't know about you, but I cannot wait to find out.